Welcome to the Stickered Up Podcast. I'm Stephen Dunn, your host of the Stickered Up Podcast, the official podcast for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. 2021 is now wrapped up. We've crowned two champions, Bobby McCarty on the late model stock car side, his third Cars Tour championship, and then Carson Quapple captured the super late model stock car championship at South Boston Speedway several weeks ago. This is our first video edition of the Stickered Up Podcast, and we're going to recap 2021. In studio today, we've got the owner of the Cars Tour, Mr. Jack McNelly. Jack, welcome to the Stickered Up Podcast.
Thank you very much.
And to his left, we've got Keeley Dubensky. Keeley is the administrative officer for the Cars Tour. She's the one that picks up the phone most times when you call the Cars Tour office. Welcome to the Stickered Up Podcast, Keeley.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having us.
And then to my immediate right, Mr. Justin Johnson fell just short of a championship as a car owner and a driver, but still a great season. Welcome back to the Stickered Up Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Jack, I want to start with you.
All right.
Year 7 in the books.
It is.
Take a deep breath.
I did after South Boston for sure. It's 7 years has gone pretty fast, to be honest with you. But it's just as much fun as it was in year one. And just to be on a roll that we're on right now is very, very satisfying.
Yeah. One of the things that I looked at, Jack, and late model stock car, you had 67 different drivers race at least once with you throughout the course of the year. 12 of those drivers made all 13 starts, crowned a 3-time champion, Bobby McCarty, which is unprecedented. 8 winners in 13 races. I don't think you'll ever get to where you were at last year with, 11 winners in 12 races.
Right.
But still pretty spread out there. Of those 8 winners, this man to my right here, he won his first and second career Cars Tour races here in 2021. And his driver, Caden Honeycutt, also won 2 races. Josh Berry, Mr. Everything, won 2 races. Then Bobby with 3. But you had some first-time winners, Minnie Tyrell, Daniel Silvestri, Mr. Johnson here, and Honeycutt. So from that aspect, it was a great year.
It was. And in the case of Minnie, a very emotional win. There at Tri-County, he's been so close so many times. He and his family run an organization, and to see him finally close the deal was pretty satisfying. Another memory that sticks in my mind is Deke's win at Wake County. Deke's been struggling here of late a little bit, not only racing, but family-wise. And to see him win at his home track was pretty cool, too.
He don't give you no love.
That's okay. I enjoyed seeing both Deke and Minnie pull it off. I thought, throughout the season, everyone had their highs and lows, and everyone went on a couple race streak, where they could contend, and then it was like another round of 2 or 3 drivers would take over the reins for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Keeley, what's your favorite memory of 2021 from the tower?
Oh, from the tower. That's a tricky one. Honestly, seeing Minnie capture his first win was really cool. Just because that team they don't have a lot of help. It's very, very family oriented, and he's young, so that was cool to see them pull that off. Obviously, Justin, I cried in victory lane on that one. I was so happy for you. There were so many moments this year, and even seeing Josh win some, Bobby win some. Every victory lane's exciting. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to pick one.
Yeah. Jack, on the super side, 8 races, 4 winners. Carson Quapple, who was your champion, won 4 times. Matt Craig once. Sammy Smith won. Chandler Smith won. You had 40 drivers make starts on the super late model side. And again, kind of bittersweet for you. We talked about this a little bit off the air with the super late models coming to an end. You guys going to the pro late models in 2022. But talk a little bit about, how you felt the 2021 campaign on the super side went.
Well, it was very competitive, right, as you alluded to. And we were fortunate in being able to work with the Southern Super Series on a couple of those events, which helped our car count and helped the show. But the bottom line was, on a standalone super race where it was just our late models and our supers, I guess the biggest disappointment was the car count on the super side. And as many people know, back in the day when I had the Pro Cup series, we suffered through the same thing, low car counts. And I just was not of the mindset to go through that again. The last 3 years with the Pro Cup, we suffered. We suffered financially. We suffered from an image standpoint, from the fans, from the tracks, from the sponsors, the vendors, and I was just not ready to do that again. So I saw this coming last year, 2020, and sure enough, in 2021, it became reality that, to be honest with you, we were going to have about 7 or 8 cars. Yeah. And I am not going to put on a show and try to sell tickets and please sponsors with 7 and 8 cars. Yeah. Just not going to do it.
Well, and I think anybody that follows the tour, follows the series for the last 7 years, knows that that's been kind of dwindling. I think a lot of those same people are really excited when you guys announced that a pro late model series will be accompanying the late model stock cars in 2022. We'll talk a little bit about that in segment 2. A couple other things that I wanted to kind of pick your brain about. Obviously, the year we're supposed to kick off at Rockingham with a $10,000 to win late model stock car race that got postponed due to the tire issues that we saw back in December at the tire test, and then eventually we got word that was going to be postponed indefinitely. Commend the effort, obviously, to try to pull that off, but just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and opinions on that, and can we expect to potentially go back to Rockingham in 2023 or 2024?
I truly don't know the answer to that. As I said at lunchtime with Keeley, it just seemed like that event was doomed from the get-go. We suffered through the tire situation. We suffered with the track coming up a little bit. And quite frankly, we suffered with some of the competitors thinking that we didn't need to be there.
Right.
Not sure that I totally understood that or buy into that, but that being said, I can't force people to go race.
Sure.
And so I was concerned about the car count, for sure. And then the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back was when, I think it was 2 days before our first open test, we learned that the ball was dropped in Indiana at Hoosier, and they hadn't even built the tires yet.
Right.
And when we found that out, I said, well, we're done. I checked with the 2 promoters, Charlie Hansen and Mike Stoddard, and I just told them that I didn't think there was any way we were going to pull this off.
Yeah.
I talked with Mike the other day, and he wanted to know my thoughts on trying to pursue it for a future year, be it 21 or 22. And I just plain told him, I guess I'm too honest to a fault, that I did not think that I had the competitors enough wanting to participate.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not sure I understand that, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Justin, I'll lean and ask you. You were at one of the tire tests last December. You actually didn't participate in the tire test, but you saw some of the issues, obviously, that Jack referred to. From a driver and an owner standpoint, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I definitely commend Jack. I mean, I think it would have been an awesome show if everything would have fallen in place. I heard some of the concerns of course, everyone was worried to death about, the tires and the situation that they were having initially. I don't know if they could have built us one that would, work to everyone's, standards. But I think the biggest, overall concern that I heard across the board was just the speeds, the max and the minimum speeds, and the fact that everyone felt like anything that happened, like whether it be mechanical, whether it be a tire, or whether it be a competitor-induced crash, then you were more than likely out of $60,000-$70,000 that the car was probably going to be done. I think they would have been perfectly safe, from the driver sitting in the seat, but as a budget and teams that are, looking to spend X dollars per race, and they have their crashes built in, rarely do you think, we're going to go here, and if anything happens, there's a complete car for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we tried, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Well, I mean, again, I think that's what we wanted to talk about. We wanted to get a perspective, and I think even fans were a little on the fence whether this thing was going to be a success. So, speaking of tires, we had a tire shortage. When did that start? Back, what was it, about May?
April, May.
April, May.
And
I think anyone thought it was going to get quite as extreme as it got, but it definitely shocked all of us.
well, Jack, I'll be the first from a fan standpoint that I commend you and Chris and Keeley and your entire team for the efforts and the rabbit holes that y'all probably went down to get tires for races and events. And I know it wasn't ideal, but talk a little bit about what that journey was for the last 2.5, 3 months, making sure that you had tires for all of these events, and to be fair, to have a level playing field for your competitors.
It was a challenge. It surely was. I truly thought that once 2020 was over that we were home free.
Yeah.
And we started out 2021 in pretty good shape. And all at once this tire shortage came. And I'll be honest with you, 2021 to me, as a promoter, was harder to navigate through all that than even 2020 was. In 2020, it was just a matter, we couldn't race at a certain track, so we just went somewhere else and raced. In 21, we didn't have that choice. I mean, the tire thing was all over the country.
Yeah.
So if we had a tire shortage, so did Florence, so did Greenville. I mean, there was no relief to it.
Right.
And it was one of those deals where everybody lost.
Yeah.
Everybody was hindered by this situation, I'll call it. The series was hindered, the competitors were hindered, track owners were hindered. I don't know if they don't get this thing straightened out, it could be devastating to the short track scene. You take your track operator, a lot of these tracks do a lot of private testing. Mm-hmm. Take Hickory, for example. On a normal situation, I would say that 4 to 5 days a week, he's got teams there testing, and they're paying him to test. Well, with no tires, nobody's coming to test, so he's taking a hammering.
Yeah.
The second group of people that I feel really bad about is the younger drivers. Now, Justin, he might be able to, and I'm sure he is, go out and practice all day on a bunch of scuffs, a bunch of junk tires, throw 4 sticker tires on him, tell him to go qualify. He can probably do that fairly easy. The 14, 15, 16-year-old kid is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, let me ask you, because you had that young kid and Caden Honeycutt, and you've worked with Connor Jones here the last few weeks as well towards the end of the year. How have you as a car owner and adjusted to that, taking these young men to the racetrack to test when you don't have 3-4 sets of tires?
Yeah, it was tough, especially I mean, for myself, you know, I've been to most of the tracks and know my way around. But, you know, there was, we took Connor and I think Carter Langley that was one of the more challenging weekends because Tri-County is pretty rough on tires. We were absolutely out of everything. And, you know, I just felt bad for it being his first Cars Tour event, first time at Tri-County, and he's out there on race tires slipping and sliding and trying to learn his way, trying to dissect. I mean, I knew we had, you know, a set of stickers to put on him for qualifying, but, you know, there's no way mentally that he could prepare that weekend. I think Caden did a phenomenal job with it, but luckily he got adapted to the car and the process early on. So I think he comes from a dirt background as well, but it was really tough with both Carter, Grant Thompson. There at the end of the year, you know, we were running out of options.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have tires in 2022 and that doesn't become an issue. But so that will wrap up segment 1 here for the Stickered Up podcast. Brandon Willard's got the caution flag out. We'll take this opportunity to come down pit road, sticker up. When we return, we're going to preview what's to come in 2022. You're listening to the Stickered Up podcast.
Stickered Up, official podcast of the Cars Tour. Race Cars, building championship race cars, provider of championship-winning late-model stock chassis. R&S Services, providing chassis, body hanging, turnkey purchases, parts, and baseline setups. Contact R&S today at 336-213-0736. That's 336-213-0736 to start building your next winning race car. That's R&S Race Cars, 336-213-0736, South Boston, Virginia. Needing new tires and trying to fit that in your budget doesn't have to be stressful. You just need to know where to go, and that's Thrifty Tire, your locally owned source for new and used tires. 2 locations, Durham and Roxborough, and not just tires. Auto repair, wheels, brakes, alignment, and suspension. Online at thriftytireonline.com. The official car care service center, the official pit stop of the Stickered Up podcast.
Welcome back to Stickered Up Podcast, the official podcast of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Before we jump into segment 2, I want to remind everyone of our friends at Southern National Motorsports Park, 2021 Solid Rock Thanksgiving All-Star Classic, November the 26th through the 28th. 3 days of racing. You can go to the website, snppark.com. That's where you can go. You can get all your ticket information, VIP suites, trackside parking, 150-lap late model stock car race on Sunday afternoon will cap off the event. Again, snppark.com, Southern National Speedway, and the Thanksgiving Classic. 2022 will be here before you know it, Jack.
Sure will.
You guys have been feverishly working, I know.
Yeah. We just finished our schedule, made it public at South Boston. So I'll just let you talk to my assistant.
So Keeley announced a schedule at South Boston Speedway, a little bit different. 15 late model stock car races, 12 of the pro late model. Why don't you give us a little bit of the highlights for what we can expect here in 2022?
Well, I think the biggest highlight is us opening our season and closing it at Caraway. I think that was something that surprised a lot of competitors just because it's different. I mean, we haven't opened and closed at the same place before. But I think it's neat that we're opening with the Old North State Nationals. That's the biggest race of the year. It's the largest paying race. So I think that'll kind of kick off an intense season for sure. I think that too, a lot of people were interested to see that we were repeating multiple tracks on the schedule this season, like Tri-County and Ace and Hickory.
I will ask, Jack, I think the Old North State National is the third Old North State National, 30,000 to win.
Fourth one, actually.
It'll be fourth.
Fourth.
Oh, that's right, fourth. Do you feel like, I mean, you've had good car count. You've had great races, you know. I'm sure Josh Berry's doing everything that he can possibly do to make arrangements to be there, being that he's won the last 2. But do you feel like having this race as the first race of the year gives you a little bit more of an advantage as far as maybe getting that higher car count that you're looking for?
I hope so. I mean, that's one of the main reasons we did change it. Having it in April and 1 year in October presented a little bit of a problem, because what we were hearing is, well, I don't want to do that because NASCAR points have already started, et cetera, et cetera,
Yep.
et cetera. This gives them no excuse. I don't think there's any track that's going to start that early. So I'm anxious to see if some of those folks that we heard that story from actually show up or find another excuse.
Are you licking your chops to go back to Caraway?
Surprisingly not. Yeah, we did pull the win off there, but not one of my favorite, tracks. But, I think it'll be unbelievable race, and I think it was an awesome idea to make it the first race of the year. I do believe, every year I've thought, we're going to have 45, 50 cars, and I feel for Jack, because I think, we had the COVID issue the 1 year, and then this year we had a ton of rain that ruined the whole Saturday deal. Yeah. So, just hoping that we can maybe have one clean Old North State National weekend, and I think it'll be a successful event.
Jack, going to Ace for a second time. I know that Jason Turner has pushed to have a second race. You'll go to Ace, stand alone with the late models in May, and then return, I believe, in August with both the pro late models and the late models. Correct. What led to that decision to go to Ace twice? Well,
as you said, the Turners have really pushed to get a second date, and they have been very, very good partners. They run a nice racetrack. It's a nice facility. It's painted. It's cleaned up. Garbage hauled away.
Yeah.
It's a good experience for not only our competitors but the fans as well.
Yeah.
So we had an opportunity, and we kind of worked a little bit of a deal out, and he got a second date.
Another track that we go to for the first time under the Cars Tour banner, head to Jacksonville, Goodyear All-American Speedway. They've got a big 10,000 to win race next Sunday, which will be their first marquee event since Anthony Goodyear's taken over. Talk a little bit about the trip down to Jacksonville and what kind of led the Cars Tour to go down there and give them their first date.
Well, I am somewhat familiar with the racetrack, having run the Pro Cup cars there. It's been several years since we were there, but nice facility. Good racetrack, kind of a D-shaped type of thing, a little bit different for our competitors, again. And Anthony reached out to me when he did the deal and was very interested in having us come down. He was present at Carteret when we went to Carteret a time or two. And so I think our reputation preceded us, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
And he thought that would be a really good show to bring to his new racetrack.
Yeah. A couple of racetracks not on the 2022 schedule that were on the 2021 schedule, but there's also a couple of tracks that were on the 2020 schedule that are back on the schedule for 2022. Greenville Pickens Speedway, both the late models and pro late models will be there on April the 9th. And then head back up to Franklin County Speedway on May 21st, and just talk a little bit about how bringing both of those tracks. Those were two tracks that were kind of fill-ins, like you mentioned, during the COVID-19 in 2020. Those are two racetracks that kind of opened their arms to you and allowed you to race there.
It did.
And is this kind of the giving back to them, the opportunity?
It is. Taking one at a time. Greenville Pickens. Last year we did go back, but with just the supers.
Right.
They really like the late model stocks there. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, that we had a nice reception for the supers also. But the late model stocks, a little bit more popular at Greenville because that's the type of car they run at Greenville Pickens.
Yeah.
Anthony Anders and his people were always very pleasant to work with. It's a half-mile racetrack, so our guys can let it hang out a little bit. It's not our typical bull ring here.
Yeah.
So we felt it was a good mix. It's early in the year, so we should have pretty decent weather, if we hope. Turning our attention to Franklin, I'll be honest with you. When we went there in 2020, when I'd never been to Franklin County in my life.
Yeah. I don't know a lot of people that have. Have you ever been there?
And I pulled in, and I got to be honest with you, I thought, oh my God, what have I done? You know? But, you know, everybody rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a challenge getting everybody in that small infield area, which is one reason why we are taking both sides. Correct myself, we are. So we'll probably have the same challenge. But anyway, what proved to be was two tremendous races.
Absolutely.
And I've told numerous people, the wrecker sat on his pad all night long. The wrecker was never dispatched to an incident in two 100-plus lap races.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what the track was what the drivers made it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Wake County. A lot of people say, oh my God, I want to go to Wake County.
I honestly still think the best race in 2020 was at Franklin County.
It
I would
was.
agree with
It
that.
absolutely was.
I mean, watching Jared Fryer and Mike Looney the last 10 laps, I mean, you couldn't
They
have-
just wore each other out, but they didn't wreck each other.
Right.
I think the track itself breeds side-by-side racing.
It does.
And one more thing, the fans were tremendous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If you remember, we had a horrible night weather-wise. There was lightning and thunder and everything.
yeah.
But he still had 1,500 people there.
Yeah.
And they were a loud group, too.
Yeah,
You know,
they were.
They were somewhat lively.
I remember seeing on the backstretch because we were parked on the backstretch, and obviously Mike's got a huge fan base there.
Oh, yeah.
And to see people throwing beer cans at Jared Fryer when he went by on his victory lap it made you feel like you're at a cup race.
At
So,
Bowman Gray.
Justin, I'll ask you as a driver and a car owner, you'll have both a pro and a late model again in 2022. What are your thoughts on going back to some of these tracks, Greenville, Pickens, Franklin County? Obviously, we talked about Caraway already, but some of these tracks that we didn't go to in 2021.
I think with the following that we see with the Cars Tour right now, I think every track owner / promoter should be begging for a date on that schedule. But, there's obviously some tracks that I like, some I dislike. I can definitely, I think each race and each event holds a reason why we're there. Yeah. And I think all of them are, first-class facilities that will be awesome for racing.
Yeah. Jack, I think that's one thing that you and I talked about. This is a traveling series, and you've got all these different disciplines of short tracks. They're all short tracks, but you go somewhere like Dominion that's very high speed, very high grip. You go to somewhere like Wake County that's your top, your average lap speed's like 38 miles an hour. It's gas up, slam on the brakes. This schedule has everything that you could imagine in a short track.
Yeah, we're actually very fortunate to have at our disposal this variety of track. And you're right. I mean, this is a touring series. It's a touring series for veterans like Justin and Deke and Bobby McCarty. But it's also for the 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. This is where they hone their skills.
Yeah.
What do they have to do to change their driving habits at these different tracks? It only prepares them for the future.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a look at the Truck Series today or the Xfinity Series today. I enjoy sitting watching television and watching that scroll go by because Yep, he's been there. He's with us.
I'm gonna tell
That's
you,
one of ours.
You got a very, very long list
do.
of successful drivers that have made it at the next level.
And that's probably the most satisfying, gratifying thing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to touch base with as far as looking forward to 2022, obviously the announcement of running the Pro Late Model Series in conjunction with the Late Model. Talk a little bit about the decision to do that. And you know, again, you and I talked a little bit about this, where the super late models were kind of a standalone. We really feel like these Pro Late Model is kind of a stepping stone into the late model side of the Cars Tour. And how much of that went into building the program to where it's, I don't know if you want to call it a JV and a varsity, but it does have that kind of feel, you know?
Does. You know, back in 2015 when we got started, you know, I'll admit, we were super late model prone to favor the supers a little bit against the late model stocks. Well, over the past 5 or 6, 7 years now, that has completely flipped to where now our premier division is late model stocks. The pro late models are, you're absolutely right. From what I understand from industry people that work with driver development, kids coming out of the Legends cars and stuff like that, the next logical step for them is into a pro late model. They're easier to drive, they're easier to work on, and it's a natural stepping stone into the late model stock, which now is the logical step into a truck or Xfinity.
Yeah. You know, Keeley, you and I talked about this a little bit as far as what the expectation is as far as car count. And I know that there was a lot of interest. I know you guys did a lot of research before making this announcement to make sure that you felt like you had the car count and the teams that were really, really wanting to commit to this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, at first, you know, when we did release the news, we were kind of, we already had a good idea of some teams that were already committed to us, but the outpour on social media of drivers coming from everywhere, that they were so excited to, you know, transition their supers into a pro or, you know, just running at different tracks and wanting to compete with us. It's actually been really cool to see that. And, you know, I think that we, as a series, pride ourselves in loyalty with our late model stocks. Our late model stocks are very loyal to us, and that's just something that we weren't really receiving back from the supers. Like if you look down through the field of supers that we've had, like it varied quite a bit. And so I think that introducing the pros will, in terms, be a little bit more of like a loyalty division with us.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean,
think
you've
it
been
was
around racing for a long time.
I agree with it, you know, kind of being a stepping stone. I mean, they're going to have a lot less horsepower. The cars are rack and pinion and light, little easier to drive. But, you know, overall, I think with supers, some of the problem there was a lot of the super guys, you know, there's these 10 races throughout the year, and they might be in Florida or, you know, Pennsylvania. You know, there's these events that they bounce to, and I think instead of just being competing against your local, you know, Southeast like you do with the late model stock, you're competing nationwide for car count. I feel like with the pros, I think that's going to be a growing series anyway, just because of the affordability with the motors and some of the packages that they have there. Should really grow into something special.
Well, it's definitely very exciting. I know that 2022 will be here before you know it. So we look forward to that. Caution flag is out. Segment 2 is over here at the Stickered Up podcast. Brandon Willer's got the yellow flag out. We'll come down pit road, sticker up. When we return, we'll have 2 very special guests for some breaking news. You're listening to the Stickered Up podcast.
Stickered Up, official podcast of the Cars Tour.
Get the picture with Pit Road TV, the official home of Cars Tour TV, where winners watch their favorite races. If you can't make it to the track, tune in and let Tony Stevens and Hannah Newhouse bring you all the action for the Cars Tour. Pit Road TV. Check them out online, pitrow.tv. That's pitrow.tv. Don't change that channel. BST, Bryant Shock Technology, providing proven race-winning shock technology. The only thing that will shock are the affordable prices. BST offers sales, service, and repair of racing shocks, plus suspension-related components for a wide range of race cars. With 20-plus years of NASCAR experience and a decade as a shock specialist, contact PJ Bryant, 704-701-5585. That's 704-701-5585. Tell him you heard about BST on Stickered Up.
Delivery by truck, part of the lifeblood of our nation. Solid Rock Carriers, LaGrange, North Carolina gets the job done, specializing in general freight and refrigerated foods. And here's an opportunity for you. You can join the Solid Rock Carriers team. If you have a CDL license and would like to find out more, call 252-521-1757, 252-521-1757 for Solid Rock Carriers, supporting short track racers and industry professionals, and the title sponsor of the Cars Tour.
Stickered Up Podcast, the official podcast of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Segment 3 of our video edition of the Stickered Up Podcast. We've got two very special guests. First to my right, Mr. Trey Thacker with Puryear Tank Lines, Chief Operating Officer.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it being here.
Absolutely. And then to Jack's left, a lot of people know this guy. He's familiar with all short track racers and fans. Mr. Kirk Ipock with Solid Rock Carriers. Kirk, welcome back to the Stickered Up Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, segment 3, we kind of set this up, and we're going to let Jack and take over the platform here and give us some very exciting breaking news on some things that we can expect here in 2022.
Well, I think our largest news for the general racing public is the fact that within this envelope, which I was just handed 20 minutes ago, is a signed contract from Mr. Kirk Ipock and his lovely wife, Lynette, that they are going to be the title sponsor of the Cars Tour Series for the next 2 years, 2022, 2023. And I cannot be any more excited that we have been able to do what Kirk has expected of us in the last 2 years, to have enough faith in us and to go for 2 more. We're just thrilled to death.
Well, Kurt, I'll first and foremost, as a race fan and supporter of the sport that we all love here, can't thank you enough for your continued support of the Cars Tour, short track racing. And man, talk a little bit about what 2021 looked like for you from a sponsor standpoint for the Cars Tour.
Well, really, we have to go back to 2020. Like he told Jack earlier in this segment, he had to find racetracks to race at because of the COVID. And then we had the tire thing, and him and his staff, they did an exceptional job in 2020, again in 2021. Jack and I, when we sat down in 2019, we had high hopes for 2020. Didn't know this pandemic was going to hurt like it did, but we even have higher expectations for the next 2 years on the Cars Tour. I know it's the best series out there, and we can only grow on it.
Yeah. Jack, anything you also want to share as far as what 2022 is going to look like for late model stock car competitors?
Well, the other news, and thanks again to Kurt, Lynette, and everybody, all the employees and everybody at Solid Rock, because they have to be involved in this. But because of their involvement, our late model stocks are going to see a significant improvement in the purse structure. We are going on a regular basis to increase the purse about $10,000 per event.
Oh, wow.
Kirk let it be known to me that this was one of the things that he wanted to do, was to up the starting money. In the 2 years past, it's been $800. Next year and in 2023, anyone that starts a Cars Tour late model event will make $1,200.
Wow.
So it's an increase for the starting purse of $400, which is 50%.
You know, there's some short tracks out there that don't pay that to win.
Yep.
We are aware of it.
And you
but
guys
not
are
all
paying that
short
to
tracks
start.
got solid rock carriers either.
That is true. That's
And now Puryear tank lines.
yeah.
As I said, I'm just thrilled to death. I can't hardly believe it. This racing game is not an easy game to play, but when you have partners like this, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and to bring Trey in Puryear Tank Lines, obviously they stepped up to the plate at the end of 2021, $10,000 to win Wake County Speedway. You guys were very lucky because one of your guys actually won it with Deke McCaskill, which was awesome.
Like Jack says, one of the memorable moments.
Yeah.
You know, Deke went through a lot, so he's certainly a most respected guy I know of in the industry. A lot of the guys in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series talk highly of him, and everybody's got a lot of respect for him. You know, we watched him in that one race, didn't push the guy to get the win there, and he said he just doesn't race like that. Just a classy guy.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I still give him hell for
Yep.
not moving Josh Berry to win $30,000. But Trey, just to kind of reiterate, Puryear Tank Lines, again, very familiar with drivers like Deke McCaskill, Justin Johnson, Lane Riggs. You guys have been great partners for them, but you guys have decided to step it up and be a more intricate part with the Cars Tour for a handful of races in 2022, and talk a little bit about the logic and the thought behind that process.
Well, like I say, it's a great industry to be in. Kirk's involved a lot, and he does a great for the industry. We as a whole, Donnie, he drove legend cars, drove late model cars, so he was very much a racer. Talk about Justin Johnson. Justin, I remember when he used to come into the office to come get the little sponsorship money and grow him as an individual. It's really about, as Jack says, taking a kid that's 12, 13 years old, putting him in a car, if that's a legend car or a whatever car, to get them to this level and grow that person. And putting these kids in these cars and getting them here. And this series is probably, well, I know it is, like Kirk says, it's the most competitive and the best group of guys that I see race out there every day, day in and day out. It's just a real competitive market and a good group of guys.
Speaking of competitive market, one of the things that you guys did at Wake County, you had potential drivers, CDL driver with license, come to Wake County, get in, trying to recruit. And you guys used the Cars Tour and short track racing as an opportunity to kind of grow your field of drivers.
We do. As the news posts every day, you know, you're looking for truck drivers every day, and let's just face it, a lot of the racing network relate with trucking and mechanicking, and we're always looking good help, and we really are into racing. So those guys coming into the racetrack and being involved, and we just we like racing. So the recruiting part of it is just an add-on. Jack's let us take out the big trucks on the racetrack, so we've been able to do that and had a good time with that. Yeah. It's just it's a good fit for us.
Hey Jack, do you think we could have maybe a trucking exhibition, maybe at the throwback race? We can have a couple Puryear trucks, a couple of solid rock trucks, maybe 10 laps.
Oh, you mean like
Oh, yeah.
like a grudge match?
Yeah.
Kurt, rub his racing. Rub his racing.
I think it's a no.
Yeah. But again, and Kurt, you and I have talked about this too. I mean, I think, you guys are looking for drivers all the time, looking to hire. And, have you seen the same result as far as, people showing interest because of your support of short track racing?
Very little, which, like what they did at Wake County. I mean, I told Trey, told Donnie, that was phenomenal. That was probably the best recruiting that you could possibly do, because I've tried TV, I've tried radio, I've tried newspaper, but we're more fortunate than they are because the volume of trucks they have.
Yeah.
We have 31 trucks now, and because when COVID hit, a lot of freight went missing, so I couldn't sit there and see 9 trucks sitting on the yard every month and making payments and everything on it.
Right.
But they have a whole lot more trucks, and right now we're very fortunate that we do have a driver per truck. Yeah. I would like it a little better than that, because when people get sick or have to have off for family, when the wheels aren't turning, the engines ain't coming.
Yeah, I get that. Trey, talking to Kurt about his truck, talk a little bit about your fleet, what you guys have got at Puryear.
So we do a lot of hazardous materials. We also do aggregates. We also do powdered cement. We're big in the construction industry. We kind of have a summer sport where we do liquid asphalts and help the construction industry out. Everybody kind of sees on TV, bills getting passed, and so there's all the time need for help for construction and fixing our roads. And then we go to a winter sport where we haul propane gases and butane gases to heat your house with propane. So we do a little of both. So really a driver can come and start with me on ground zero in a dump truck or a dump trailer and graduate itself to a pneumatic or a tanker and then move into the hazmat world. So you really can take a young individual, and that's really what we're trying to get in this market. You got the older generation leaving the trucking industry, and you don't have a lot of the young generation wanting to come in the trucking industry. Yeah. So those are the problems that we fight as a trucking environment, is we just don't have a lot of people wanting to come into our industry. Yeah. So as the older gentlemen go out, we got to have that replacement. Yeah. So like I said, we can take a guy from ground zero and then get him all the way to the Cars Tour Series of trucking.
Well, I tell you what, man.
That's a good way of putting it.
But look, that's the thing, man. You guys need drivers, and both of you guys have told me guys can go and make 6 figures, no problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
6 figures, no problem. Have a weekend off to come watch Cars Tour run. Support Solid Rock, support Puryear. I mean, it's all win-win. So, any of you guys, young drivers out there looking for someone, Puryear Tank Lines is hiring, Solid Rock Carriers is hiring, and guys, thank you guys so much for what you guys do for short track racing. It makes, I know it makes your job a lot easier, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah. Kurt, just to wrap up, what's your expectation for 2022? I mean, what do you see in 2022?
Well, when you got people like Donnie and Trey coming on, it can't do anything but help the series. Just like you just said a while ago, just with what you get for entering a Cars Tour race. Yeah. I'm hoping that when we go to these tracks like Ace and Greenville Pickens and Franklin, that some of the local guys, they can't make that if they win a Saturday night feature there. Right. And then they can stack themselves up to what I call the best of the best in the racing industry right now. Yeah. And if you can go out there and beat a Justin Johnson or Bobby McCarty or Jared Fryer, you've done something. Yeah. Because they are the best of the best.
Yeah. Jack, did want to ask you again, program that you guys have had a lot of success with over the last few years, the Tour in 12, is that something that, again, we'll see in 2022?
Absolutely, and it'll be even more enhanced.
Okay. So when can drivers apply for that?
What we're going to do this year, we are going to send notices out to our existing Touring 12.
Okay.
Just simply, do you want to be considered? So we'll get a feedback from them during December, and then I'm going to pick a date. January 5th, January 10th, we will send out, hey, general public, we have 6 openings in the Touring 12.
Okay.
and they will have till February the 10th. I'd like to have the Touring 12 established, ready to go, up and running 1 month in advance of Caraway. That's my goal.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. And again, I think I speak on behalf of every race fan that's a Cars Tour fan, short track racing fan, that very excited for where the Cars Tour is going in 2022. I think that 2021 was another, and I always say this, I don't know that it can get any better, but it seems to get a little bit better every year, man. So you set the bar very high. So we, as race fans, we challenge you to answer the call again, and obviously
And I accept the challenge, and with the help of folks like these here to my left and my right, we'll get it done.
Absolutely. Well, that pretty much does it for here. As far as wrapping up, I can't thank you guys enough for being part of this inaugural video edition of the Stickered Up podcast. And Jack, I just want to thank you personally for giving myself and broadcasting experts the opportunity to do the Stickered Up podcast for the entirety of 2021. We had an absolute blast doing it. I think that we got really, really good feedback.
Good.
Look forward to talking to you about continuing in 2022. And thank you so much for what you do for
Well,
Short
the pleasure is all ours, and thank you for everything that you do. Media, PR, and all that's vitally important.
Yeah.
Some people said, good and bad. Well, we'd like to all be good, but sometimes we get to bad.
That's right.
And that's part of the game.
Absolutely.
That's part of the game.
Absolutely. Trey, thank you so much for being on.
Most definitely. I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. And Kurt, as always, thank you again for all that you do for short track racing. And I'm sure we'll see you next weekend down at Goodyear, won't we?
Oh, yeah. I want to thank Trey, too, for them coming on, because they believe in the series. Trey and I talked, Donnie and myself have talked, and they believe in the series like I believe in the series, and I think it's going to make it all even better racing.
Yeah. Well, again, we look forward to 2022. 2022 is just around the corner. And again, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people behind the scenes that have made this particular video edition of the Stickered Up podcast possible. Special thanks to Thomas Lipscomb, Sarah McConsky, Joe Plaza behind the cameras. As always, Dave Perkins and Morgan Patrick here at Broadcasting Experts for all of their help all year long. And again, would be remiss not to thank our sponsors here at the Stickered Up podcast all year long: Solid Rock Carriers, Thrifty Tire, BST, RNS Race Cars, and Pit Road TV. This is Stephen Dunn signing off. 2022 is right around the corner. That's the checkered flag on this season of the Stickered Up podcast.
Be sure to share this podcast. New episodes of Stickered Up will be available wherever you download your podcasts.